Sitting at his side, Stephen solved out the problem. He proves by algebra that Shakespeare's ghost is Hamlet's grandfather. Sergeant peered askance through his slanted glasses. Hockey sticks rattled in the lumber room. The hollow knock of a ball and calls from the field. Across the page, the symbols moved in grave Morris, in the mummery of their letters, wearing the quaint caps of squares and cubes. Give hands, traverse, bowed to partner, so, imps of fancy of the moors. Gone too from the world, Averroes and Moses, Marmonoids, dark men in mane and movement, flashing in the mocking mirrors, the obscure soul of the world, a darkness shining in the brightness, which brightness could not comprehend. Do you understand now? Can you work the second for yourself? Yes, sir. In the long, shaky strokes, Sergeant copied the data. Waiting always for a word of help, his hands moved faithfully in the unsteady symbols, a faint hue of shame flickering behind his dull skin. Amor martris, subjective and objective genitive. With her weak blood and whey-sour milk, she had fed him and hid him from sight of others, his swaddling hands. Like him was I, those sloping shoulders, this graciousness. My childhood bends beside me. Too far for me to lay a hand there once or lightly. Mine is far, and his secret as our eyes. Secrets silent, stony, sit in the dark places of both our hearts. Secrets wary of the tyranny. Tyrants willing to be dethroned. The sum was done. It's very simple, Stephen said as he stood up. Yes, sir, thanks, Sergeant answered. He dried the pages with a sheet of thin blotting paper and carried his copybook back to his bench. You'd better get your sticks and go out to the others, Stephen said as he followed towards the door, the boy's graceless form. Yes, sir. In the corridor, his name was heard, called from the playfields. Sergeant! Run on, Stephen said. Mr. Deasy is calling you. He stood in the porch and watched the laggard hurry towards the scrappy field where sharp voices were in strife. They were sorted in teams, and Mr. Deasy came away, stepping over wisps of grass with his gaitered feet. When he had reached the schoolhouse, voices again called to him. He turned his angry white moustache. What is it now? He cried, continually without listening. Cochrane and Halliday are on the same side, sir, Stephen said. Will you wait in my study for a moment, Mr. Deasy said, till I restore order here. As he stepped fussily back across the field, his old man's voice cried sternly. What's the matter? What is it now? Their sharp voices cried about him on all sides. Their many forms closed round him. The garish sunshine bleached the honey of his idled head. Stale smoky air hung in the study with the smell of drab, abraded leather of its chairs. As on the first day he bargained with me here, as it was in the beginning is now. On the sideboard the tray of Stuart coins, base treasure of a bog, and ever shall be. And snug in the spoon case of purple plush faded, the 12 apostles having preached to all the Gentiles, word without end. A world without end. A hasty step over the stone porch and in the corridor. Blowing out his rare moustache, Mr. Deasy halted at the table. First, our little financial settlement, he said. He brought out of his coat a pocketbook and bound by leather thong. It slapped open and he took from it 2 notes, one of joined halves, and laid them carefully on the table. 2, he said, strapping and stowing the pocketbook away. And now his strong room for the gold. Stephen's embarrassed hand moved over the shells, heaped in the cold stone mortar. Whelks and money, cowries and leopard shells, and this, whorled as an emir's turban, and this, the scallop of St. James. An old pilgrim's hoard, dead treasure, hollow shells. A sovereign fell, bright and new, on the soft pile of the tablecloth. 3, Mr. Deasy said, turning his little savings box about in his hand. These are handy things to have. See, this is for sovereigns, this is for shillings, sixpence, half-crowns, and here crowns. See? He shot from it 2 crowns and 2 shillings. 3.12, he said. I think you'll find that's right. Thank you, sir, Stephen said, gathering the money together with shy haste and putting it all in a pocket of his trousers. No thanks at all, Mr. Deasy said. You've earned it. Stephen's hand, free again, went back to the hollow shells. Symbols too of beauty and of power. A lump in my pocket. Symbols soiled by greed and misery. Don't carry it like that, Mr. Deasy said. You'll pull it out somewhere and lose it. You just buy one of these machines. You'll find them very handy. Answer something.